Hours after India issued a firm response to US President Donald Trump's latest tariff warning, the American leader has once again escalated trade tensions. In a fresh statement, Trump criticized India for continuing oil imports from Russia and warned of imposing additional tariffs within the next 24 hours. In a media interview, President Trump described India as not a good trading partner and signaled that punitive measures could follow soon. He said, and I quote, "India has not been a good trading partner because they do a lot of business with us, but we don't do business with them. So we settled on 25%. But I think I'm going to raise that very substantially over the next 24 hours. Because they are buying Russian oil. They are fueling the war machine." The height of hypocrisy lies in the fact that while India is only the second largest importer of Russian oil behind China, which remains Russia's top buyer, Trump continues to single out and threaten India with tariffs over its energy dealings. Meanwhile, his stance on China, despite its far deeper economic ties with Russia, remains notably soft. While Trump criticized India in his interview, he praised the US-China relationship, stating, "We have a very good relationship. I'll end up having a meeting before the end of the year, most likely, if we make a deal. But we are getting very close to a deal. We are getting along with China very well. China is very reliant on the United States." The comments came amid rising strains between Washington and New Delhi over trade and foreign policy decisions, particularly India's stance on energy imports despite Western sanctions on Russia. India's Ministry of External Affairs issued a hard-hitting 6-point statement denouncing President Trump's tariff threats, which were triggered by India's continued purchase of Russian oil. The statement not only exposed the blatant double standards of the West, but also sent a powerful message that India will pursue an independent foreign policy rooted in national interest, unfazed by pressure or threats. The MEA's 6-point reaction came hours after Trump took to his social media and accused India of buying massive amount of Russian oil and selling it in the open market for big profits, and promised to impose fresh tariffs on New Delhi. The MEA statement directly called out on Western hypocrisy. Its 6th point, which referred to India as a major economy, was a sharp counter to Trump's earlier dismissal of India's economic stature, where he referred to Indian economy as dead. The European Union too was not spared. The MEA's statement made clear reference to the EU's ongoing trade with Russia, even in non-essential goods and services. This came in response to recent comments by NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte, who in a threatening tone warned India of 100% secondary sanctions if it continued its energy trade with Russia.
If you are the president of China, or the prime minister of India, or the president of Brazil, and you are still trading with the Russians and getting the oil and the gas in, and you sometimes even resell it for a higher price, know that if this guy in Moscow doesn't get serious about peace talks, I will slam secondary sanctions on you of 100%.
Meanwhile, India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar too reiterated the need for a fair and multipolar global order.
We live in complicated and uncertain times. Our collective desire is to see a fair and representative global order, not one dominated by a few. That quest is often articulated as political or economic rebalance.
India's friend and ally Russia has voiced strong support for New Delhi. The Kremlin has criticized Washington's threat of additional tariffs, calling it an example of illegal trade pressure.
We hear many statements that are in fact threats, attempts to force countries to cut trade relations with Russia. We do not consider such statements to be legal. We believe that sovereign countries should have and do have the right to choose their own trading partners for trade and economic cooperation, and to choose for themselves the forms of trade and economic cooperation that are in the interests of a particular country.
With India's firm message to Washington and President Trump's 24-hour ultimatum deadline, all eyes are now on how the two strategic partners navigate this diplomatic and economic standoff and whether their decades-old friendship can withstand the strain. With Neha Kumari, Bureau Report, India Today.